4, 3, 2, 1. We're now live on Facebook. Good morning, Facebook Live. Welcome to the Geaux Rouge Show. This is technically episode 58, but we're calling it season 2, episode 1 because that sounds cool, right? It sounds cool to say even multiple seasons. We're going to be starting shortly. For those who are just tuning in on the Geaux Rouge Facebook Live, we've got Scott Sullivan in the box. We've got Emelie from Byronz, Bistro Byronz. We got Chris Cummings from Pass It Down. We've got Jennifer and Jason from Hoopla. We've got Phil Frost from the BREC Baton Rouge Zoo. And then, of course, I'm Franz Borkart with Geaux Rouge and the Borkart Law Firm. We're going to start up in a couple of seconds. Everybody had a good New Year's?
Great one.
Anything good or bad happen?
2020's over with?
Yes.
Is it really?
We'll see.
All right. So Brian, if you are listening right now, if I can go, tell me when I can do a countdown. We'll go on and start. And guys, it's going to be a 2-minute intro on my part. And then we're going to move it. So I'll count us down. We're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Geaux Rouge Radio Show. This is your host, Franz Borkart. Welcome you back. This is 2021. This is season 2, episode 1 for those who are just tuning in, or episode 58 if you're about big numbers. It is great to be back. It is great to be back on Talk 107.3 and Facebook Live. If you're tuning in on Facebook Live, thank you for tuning in. Please share. If you're listening on Saturday, you're listening to Talk 107.3. We've got a great show lined up today, more guests than we probably should have, but that never stops us. For those tuning in, we've got Emelie from Bistro Byronz. We've got Jennifer and Jason from Hoopla, Phil Frost from BREC Baton Rouge Zoo. We have Scott from Sulliscope, and then we have Chris Cummings from Pass It Down. For more information about the Geaux Rouge Show, go to www.geauxrouge.com. You can also send us show topic ideas if there's people you want to see on here. If there's people you're like, hey, Franz, why haven't you had this person on the show? Email us at info@geauxrouge.com. Before we jump into the show, let's thank our sponsors. These are the businesses that make the Geaux Rouge Show possible. First and foremost, La Divina Italian Cafe, serving select wines, ice cold beer, plus their exclusive sorbet mimosa. I hear the sorbet mimosa is delicious. The Borkart Law Firm, the finest criminal defense firm in the universe, or at least in the city of Baton Rouge. That's my lemonade stand. Sullivan Steakhouse, your neighborhood steak restaurant. BREC Parks, the Smith Shanklin Sosa Personal Injury Law Firm. These are your go-to personal injury law firm, one of the finest personal injury civil firms in Baton Rouge. And last but not least, NAI, Ladder and Bloom Commercial Realtors. Thank you to all the sponsors. These are the businesses that make it to where I can actually get on the air and stay on the air. So always a pleasure getting to talk about them. This week, our first episode of season 2, we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to be talking about businesses, small businesses that are local. We're going to talk to a wonderful filmmaker that's doing cool stuff. We're talking to attorney Chris Cummings, who identifies not as an attorney, but is an attorney, with his company, Pass It Down. Awesome entrepreneur, great concept. And then, of course, we're going to be talking to Bistro Byronz about an awesome move that they have coming up. Very excited. And of course, Phil from the Baton Rouge Zoo. Guys, how's everybody doing?
Doing great.
New Year.
All right, so let's jump first into Hoopla. Jason and Jennifer, welcome to the show. What is Hoopla?
Wonderful question. Hoopla is a technology startup here in Baton Rouge that offers an online and app-driven platform for local businesses to market their goods and services, and also offer the delivery component that consumers have come to expect. It's kind of a holistic approach. Put our local businesses yeah, and direct competition with a lot of the large online box stores that we've come to know.
So I got to go there. So
Okay.
So what was it that caused you guys to create this competitive, disruptive local business? Because when I was reading about you guys, I was like, man, I'm an anxious, fearful soul. So I'm like, I don't want to go head to head with the big boys. Although I go head to head with the big boys all the time in my day job. What was it that spawned you guys into doing that?
Well, the idea for Hoopla originally came from, I'm also a lawyer and have a personal injury law firm, and our firm and my law partner would sponsor the Parker House, which was a house that housed abused children. And so every Christmas we would give them Christmas presents and a meal, and other holidays we would support them. So Jennifer and I were going to a local buffet place that they wanted to eat. And as we were pulling up to get the gift cards and to pay for the meal, there was a teepee tent out front that said, "Kids eat free on Tuesday." And I looked at my wife, because our daughters swim competitively, and Jennifer gets home at 8 o'clock a lot of nights from swim. And I said, boy, that would have really been nice to have known that our kids could have eat free all these years. But how would you ever know unless you pulled right up to this restaurant?
So how did it go from there?
Yeah, so basically we said, it would be nice if there was an app that consolidated and provided a hub for all of the deals and specials and events that were going on in Baton Rouge. So that way it would be at the touch of a fingertip. And so we started the process in around March of 2019, coming up with the concept of Hoopla and what we would want the app to be. In November of 2019, we started to add clients and restaurants and promoting the deals and specials. And, like anything else, when you launch an app, you want it to look good to consumers. So we really didn't broadcast or let the public know about our app, because we wanted to have a good selection of deals and events. So if you downloaded it, the app would have value. But unfortunately, while we were at Disney and Mardi Gras of 2020, the pandemic was starting. And then by the time we got back and got into the groove of things, there was quarantine and lockdown, which shut down all of the events. It shut down the restaurants. And really it affected Hoopla's forward momentum, just like it did the restaurant and the entertainment industry. But we took a step back and we said, okay, how can we make this better? During this pandemic, how can we improve on this idea of a local hub for local stores? And so that's when we added e-commerce capabilities, as well as we have a fleet of delivery vehicles that we provide. So we're coming up with alternative business models for restaurants and local retail establishments to get their products to consumers quickly.
So if I wanted to find Hoopla as a consumer, where are my options?
Yeah, right now, our stores are available online. You can go to hooplabuzz.com. That's HOOPLABUZZ.com. And we're also having our official app launch party on January 15th. And we call this our beta app, because our alpha app was just the deals and events. And so now the beta app will have the e-commerce capabilities, deliver. And we also do errand services. So if you need something picked up and brought to your office, or if you're a florist and you don't have a delivery van, we can pick up the flowers and deliver them. And one of our primary clients right now is Bistro Byronz and Pizza Byronz. And Emelie has been very gracious and given us an opportunity to demonstrate our powers and our capabilities and come up with different ways to get their great food to consumers. And so it's a fun ride.
So great segue, Jason. So let's talk to Byronz for a second. So what's it been like, Emelie? Welcome. What's it been like dealing with Hoopla with your businesses?
Well, Jason was being very gracious, saying it's been a fun ride. I think I drive him crazy every now and again with all of our requests, but it's been a fun partnership for sure. So I think the pandemic definitely brought us together. And during the pandemic, we started doing a lot of different things to try to get the food out to our customer base in different ways. tried to evolve our business, I think, as everybody did. And so one of the big things we did, obviously, was spend a lot of time out in the neighborhoods bringing our food to folks who were staying home and being safe. So that was a big piece of business that really boomed for us during the pandemic. And we did the best we could. You know, we had servers who were still able to work for us, who were loading up their little cars full of bags and trying, you know, to set up tables. And so again, it evolved. And when Jason and I started talking, that was one area that we talked about that I felt like he could really help us. He had invested in a fleet of cars that were more appropriate for a delivery. We weren't a delivery company. And so that was been our first partnership, as he's helped us on the e-commerce side and the delivery side with getting our food out to the masses in a different method.
So being that you guys are in the restaurant industry and you're knee deep in the restaurant industry, and we're going to talk about your exciting announcement in a second. What is it like dealing with Hoopla versus, say, one of the other, and I said big boys, that's not to say that Hoopla is not a valuable, important entity, but I mean, you have options. So what is it about Hoopla that you like, or why go with Hoopla?
Well, I think the most important thing is just it's a local business. So obviously it's important to me to support local businesses, as I appreciate folks supporting us. And there's been a connection where we really are able to communicate and work through to develop a solution that meets our needs. And so I think that Hoopla has done a great job in helping us fulfill that need that we have, and we're able to communicate and make changes on the fly and make something really personalized to what Bistro Byronz and Pizza Byronz has been looking for.
Awesome. So speaking of Bistro Byronz,
or Byronz,
or Byronz, you pronounce it both. You pronounce it both ways. We should just you should become like Prince and just use a symbol.
Okay.
So you guys had a hot announcement this week, man. Like, you guys are moving. Talk to me about the move.
We are, I like to say we are planning for a move right now. So everything, as you know, nothing, this year has taught us nothing is done till it's done, right? But again, kind of stimulated by the pandemic. And I think also we've been in our current home for 15 years. And we've just sort of, I think as every company, evaluated over these last 10 months and really looked at how to evolve and change and modify our businesses to meet the current needs. And so where we have landed is that we will be moving or planning to move our mid-city location. But it was really important for us to stay in the mid-city old Baton Rouge area and to continue to meet the needs of that constituent base that we have. And so we are planning for a move down the street or up the street, I'm not sure which it is, on Government to Square 46 building and to the spot that formerly housed the White Star Market. So in that space.
So what is your time frame to getting that transition?
I think it's going to be a little bit of a time we have to do, or we have a build out that'll have to get done in that space. It's being subdivided. So we'll just be taking a portion of that space that previously held White Star and working with the folks at Square 46 to create a Bistro Byronz look and feel there. So I would think we are hoping in the second quarter to put our feet on the ground in there and work on getting up. So there'll be a bit of a time without a mid-city location, but we're hopefully going to be using Hoopla to bring some of our food over to mid-city and to the neighborhoods of that part of town. And certainly would love everybody to come out and see us in the Willow Grove neighborhood as well. Awesome.
Well, I will say it on the radio, and I've said it to you before, your devotion to the community is always awesome and amazing. For those who don't know, who are listening, there has never been a time where I didn't go to Bistro Byronz and ask for support over a charity event or some kind of initiative and they not jump in. They've always been incredibly generous. So thank you. Congratulations on the move. For more information on Hoopla, go to www.hooplabuzz.com. Guys, very exciting. Congratulations on this launch. Both of you guys are launching, man. I feel like I need to launch something, man. Y'all are launching things. I need to launch something. Well, stick around, guys. We're about to turn it over to Phil from BREC Baton Rouge Zoo. Phil, what's going on?
Oh, where do I start? We have had such an unusual year, like a lot of people, but I think one of the things that is very interesting is for the months that the zoo was open, this past year for a full month, January, February. We were closed part of March, all of April, part of May, then June through December. Every month we exceeded the attendance of 2019. People wanted to get out, they wanted to get out and get fresh air, and the zoo was a safe place to come, a fun place to come. And so we greatly benefited from that. We even had some of the months that had over 40% increase over the year before. So while many of the industries with Byronz, Bistro, and different ones, having to deal with making lots of changes and limiting the fact that we're 147 acres, it really did not hurt us from the standpoint of having to limit the number of people that could come in. So we were very fortunate about that. We were not able to do some of the things that we'd like to do. For instance, right now, the train is still not running because amusement rides are not allowed. But we've got a lot going on. Just last December, this last month, we had our Zoo Lights, which was tremendously successful. And one of the things with Zoo Lights is we have a special that we've been doing for some time with the Baton Rouge Food Bank. And the number I just got yesterday, we brought in over 7,320 pounds of food from our guests who came to Zoo Lights, which is enough to feed 6,100 meals. So we are very, very grateful for the community to support the zoo, but also coming out and bringing canned goods and food items, non-perishable items that really help our community and folks that right now some are having some difficult times because of things that have occurred with COVID and layoffs and all. So it was just one of the ways we wanted to help give back and to partner with the food bank. But we just had a groundbreaking ceremony about 3 weeks ago, just before the holidays, which is very exciting. We are doing about $40 million worth of renovations and reinventions, if you will, to the Baton Rouge Zoo and to the adjoining Greenwood Park, which we are part of the BREC. And so this new phase that's already started with contractors are already on the ground. I've already seen equipment out in the zoo, which is great. And we'll have some great additions to the zoo. I think one of the biggest changes that will take place is for those of you who have visited the zoo, coming down Thomas Road sometimes is a little nerve ending because it's got those deep ditches on both sides. And you think, well, if I have a flat tire here, I'm in trouble. So we're actually changing the entrance of the zoo into Greenwood Park. So you just stay on the 4-lane Highway 19, come on down, turn into Greenwood Park, and there will be a new entrance complex actually in Greenwood. And that's really going to pull the two facilities together. Right now, people come to the zoo and may or may not know that Greenwood Park is back there with all the tremendous amenities that it has. And vice versa. People may be coming and using the golf course in Greenwood, and they may be using some of the facilities in Greenwood and not really that familiar with the zoo. And right now you've got to drive all the way around to get to it. Now they'll be right there in the middle. Parking will be right there in the middle of the park. So we're very excited about that. It's going to allow us to add education space that we've not had in the past, more birthday party space than we've had in the past. We usually sell out of our birthday parties and just don't have enough room to do them. From an exhibit standpoint, lots of great things happening. New giraffe exhibit that'll include feeding. So you'll be able to feed the giraffes now as part of your getting up close and personal with the giraffes. A new pygmy hippo exhibit that's going to have underwater viewing. So for the first time, you'll be able to see them swim underwater. And not only will they be swimming underwater, there'll be fish fish swimming. I guess fish are always underwater, hopefully, unless you're eating them. But fish will be swimming in there with them because, of course, the hippos eat plants, so they don't eat fish. So you don't have to worry about that. They don't have to worry about that. As well as the colobus monkeys will be in that exhibit. And so they'll work off of each other. The hippos will be in the water. The pygmy hippos will be in the water. The monkeys will be up in the trees. And it's going to make for a very, very exciting exhibit. And a lot of this work will be done by the end of this year. Some of it will go into next year, 2022. But we're very excited about that and tremendously excited about the support we've received.
So if you wanted to get more information on the Baton Rouge Zoo and the initiatives and events you guys have coming up, Phil, where would you go?
You can go to our website, brzoo.org, brzoo.org, or you can also go to our Facebook and find lots of things there that are happening on a day-to-day basis.
So I'm not just saying this because I care about you and the zoo, but I will tell you, I've taken my 5-year-old to the zoo since the pandemic has started. And there is something that feels oddly safe about, because everybody's social distancing, everybody's masked up, and it just kind of feels good to get out, walk, see the animals. You can enjoy the scenery without feeling like you're on top of somebody. I'm excited about the initiatives you guys have coming up. There are some big events that happen at the zoo, and I'm interested to see how you guys adjust. And I'm talking Brew at the Zoo. I'm talking about some of the other ones, how you guys adjust to kind of accommodate all that, because that's what we're all doing, right? We're all adjusting to accommodate what's going on. And what's going on, I was telling a federal judge this the other day, what's going on changes with the minute. I mean, if this vaccine hits big, I mean, do we go back to where we were before, or are we always going to kind of be in this weird zone? So anything we need to know about, we got about 4 minutes left, Phil. Anything else we need to know about the zoo before we roll?
Well, it was interesting you said events, because we do have some events coming up, and we had some events that we had to deal with. For instance, this year we did not have our Brew at the Zoo. We felt that the Brew at the Zoo, it's a big tailgate party, if you will, at the zoo, and there was no tailgating allowed. So we felt that it was probably in our best interest for the greater good to not hold that event. But we did have our Zoo Run. We just moved it to a little bit later. Normally it's in August. This year it was in November, and it was a tremendous success. Over 800 participants at the run. And again, people had a chance to run through the zoo. We took social distancing into account. We just had as I mentioned earlier, we had our zoo lights. So, and we even had our Boo at the Zoo this year with somewhere in the neighborhood of 25,000 people showing up over 4 weekends. And people had a great time. They were able to stay apart from each other, family groups and all. So we've got our events coming up, lots of educational programs and things. Our Zippity Zoo Fest will be at the end of March, the 27th and the 28th. So that's our first big event of the year. We've got a few other things that'll be happening, members nights and some of our education programs and spring green at the zoo and some things like that. But in terms of the really large events, we're moving forward with all of those in 21. We will most likely at this point move our race later in the year, because people said, wow, I really like running in the zoo in November a whole lot better than August, which you can understand. It's a little bit warmer during the month of August. And so we're trying to make sure we're not competing with any of the other big races that are going on, because we certainly want to respect the calendars that are out there. And so we're doing that. So this year, we'll be doing our race in November. Actually be November the 13th will be the race. So again, lots going on with events, but the best place to see it is to go to our website or go to our Facebook page and like us. And if you like us, you're going to keep seeing all these things that are happening from births to, I think a couple of days ago, we had a nutria wishing everybody a happy new year with its great audible sound. So lots going on.
We're about to hit our first break. If you're just tuning in, we're going to be taking a break. We've been talking to Phil from the Baton Rouge Zoo, brzoo.org, for all your information. Thank you guys, Phil and the zoo, for everything you've been doing to help the community. We also talked to Hoopla. Go to www.hooplabuzz.com to get more information about this great local business. And last but not least, thank you to Bistro Byronz or Byronz for all the community support they do, both in helping other restaurants during the pandemic, both in helping community initiatives. Emelie, congratulations on y'all's move. I'm very excited. That's a good space for you guys. I'm going to miss the old space, but I can, change is something we have to all accept. So we're going to hit our first break, guys. Stick around. If you're listening on Facebook Live, we're going to still stick around on Facebook Live and chat a little bit. We will be right back with the Geaux Rouge Show. All right, we are at a break, guys, so don't go anywhere. By the way, great first segment. I'm not just saying that because I was the ringmaster there. That was good. I got to tell you, I'm very curious about the layout of what you guys are going to do in that space. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting space, right? So I'm curious about that. I hope that you guys are going to employ or deploy, or whatever word I'm looking for here, the outdoor seating area.
Yes.
My 5-year-old did yoga out there. And I have missed doing yoga or watching him do yoga. I haven't done yoga yet. I do yoga for the first time on Thursday. But my son, my 5-year-old knows how to do yoga because of that space. So I'm very excited about it. Hoopla, awesome launch. You guys have coming up. Congratulations on that. And of course, Zoo, keep doing everything you're doing, Phil, man. That's great. So we're gonna come back as soon as Brian tells me we can come back. We'll do the same thing. We'll do a 2-minute intro. We'll go to, I'm doing this because Scott's this way to me. Yeah. So we'll do Scott and Scott's World. I'm excited. And then we'll finish up. Man, I got to tell you, man. And I know you've probably already talked, and I'm not trying to get in your business, Chris, but a virtual tour of the zoo using your.
We actually do have a number of virtual tours, so I'll have to meet Phil.
Sounds good, Chris.
Appreciate it.
Saw what I did there? I built a bridge there.
There you go.
Hey, and I do identify as an attorney. My license just isn't active at the moment.
That's all right. I sometimes, depending on who you talk to, I identify as an attorney and sometimes I don't. So I like so here's the crazy thing. I get asked all the time, and we got some time to kill. I get asked all the time, how are you doing all the crazy stuff you're doing and still practicing law? And I'm like, it doesn't require, the crazy stuff I'm doing doesn't require that much time and energy. Like the morning legal commentary I do is at like 6:35 in the morning. I'm not practicing law at 6:35 in the morning anyway. This is an obligation that takes time on Tuesdays, but candidly, guys, the amount of effort it takes to line up episodes is really just emails. It's not a lot of effort. It can be creatively stifling sometimes because you're like, okay, I got to do another episode. What am I going to do? But it doesn't take up a lot of time. It really doesn't. The pandemic has made events and eating a lot different for me. I still eat out way more than I should. Shout out, by the way, one of the best brunches in Baton Rouge. And I'm not just saying that because she's in the window. One of my faves, Byronz. And I dabble in brunch. I don't know if you know this or not. I dabble in brunch. Baton Rouge brunches, go to the Facebook page. Byronz, one of my favorite brunches in BatonRouge. Oh,
you got to come
so
try
good.
again, though. We've made some changes to it. So you'll have to kind of see what you think of what we're currently serving.
Well, dude, I love. Go
We've
ahead.
had a give back night, 1 or 2 give back nights at Byronz, and they've been absolutely wonderful folks to work with, and have even had our Friends of the Zoo annual dinner 2 or 3 times at their location there on
It is.
Didn't
It is
do it this year because we had to cancel it, but look forward to being back at a new site.
So I like the family atmosphere. If you want to do adult-oriented things at Byronz, you can do that. There's areas where you can do that, but you can also bring your kids. The food is really, really, really good, fair priced. And I got to tell you that the thing that I still admire about you is when the poop hit the fan in the pandemic, the way you worked with the other restaurants to help everybody out. That, we are all in competitive worlds, but it doesn't mean we can't help each other out when we need to. And I tell people when it comes to restaurants, it's like, look, I eat 3 meals a day, and I don't eat every meal at the same restaurant every single day. Although I do eat I do eat at La Divina way more than I should. Shout out to La Divina.
I do be there quite often.
They got really good. So their breakfast is so good, and it's like I can get in and out of there. I can think.
How did they do just the spacing there? I haven't been there. So with the pandemic, how did they do with the small amount of space?
So they got a big giant tent outside, and that provided additional seating. I think a lot of people were. There have been few times where I've walked in where it's so crowded that I felt uneasy. They also have a back seating area that has what's the word I'm looking for? Benches and
yeah, like a little bit.
Booths. That's the word I'm looking for. So it just kind of worked. But it's interesting because like when I go at like 8 a.m, it's the breakfast shift. So most people are either coming in, buying coffee and leaving, or there's space. And so, but I love that place. I mean, I love you guys, but I also love that place too.
Share the love. It's okay.
There's lots of me to go around with the love. So we're going to be coming back. If you're watching on Facebook, a great way to help Hoopla, Byronz, and the zoo is to share this video tag them. If you're a big fan of any of the three or all three, tag them and share it, because that way we can bypass the wonderful Facebook algorithm that requires me to pay for your love. Community initiatives. Emelie. All right, hold on. So Haldane says ready when y'all are. So I'll do a countdown, guys. Everybody ready?
Ready.
This is the Scott and Chris segment, guys. I mean, you guys can chime in, but you know. All right, we're gonna do a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the second segment of the Geaux Rouge Show. If you're just now tuning in, this is your host, Franz Borkhardt. Brian Haldane's at the station on Master Controls. This is Season 2, Episode 1. Season 2, Episode number 1, or Episode 58, depending on how you look at things, how you count things. We have had some great time this morning. We've been chatting with Byronz, the folks from Hoopla and the Baton Rouge Zoo. For our second segment, we're going to have Scott Sullivan from Sulliscope, as well as Chris Cummings from Pass It Down. Great filmmaker, writer, director, producer, different hats Scott wears. And Chris, I love Chris. Chris is an attorney that does an area law. Well, it's an active, right? He tells me it's an active, but he did an area law that I really, really love and care about. And so I've gotten to have some great legal conversations. Chris is also a big fan of La Divina Italian Cafe, which, by the way, is one of our show sponsors. Speaking of show sponsors, let's give those some love so that we can jump on in. Besides La Divina Italian Cafe, which is one of my favorite Baton Rouge coffee spots, we have the Borkhardt Law Firm. We have Sullivan's Steakhouse, your neighborhood steak restaurant. BREC Parks. We talked to one of BREC's crown jewels earlier in the first segment, the Baton Rouge Zoo. The Smith Shanklin Sosa Law Firm, personal injury law firm. These guys are your go-to personal injury lawyers. Great law firm. They really care about the community a lot. They're doing a whole bunch of really cool community initiatives. You need to check them out on social media and their website. And last but not least, NAI, Ladder and Bloom Commercial Realtors. I host a commercial real estate podcast presented by Ladder and Bloom, which is a lot of fun, in particular because I know nothing about commercial real estate. And so it's funny to watch me scramble and try to sound like I'm not absolutely a moron. No, actually, the whole shtick of the show is it's from an outsider's perspective. So we get experts on to explain to me as if I were a child these major real estate concepts, and it's entertaining. So without further ado, let's welcome our first guest in the second segment, Scott Sullivan. What's up, man?
Hey, man.
So Trey Godfrey, a guy that I listened to, told me I had to have Scott on the show. And Scott owns a company called Sulliscope. You are, and look, man, you got lots of hats on. You're a writer, director, what else?
Producer. When my office gets dirty, I clean it up. So janitor, you name it. I do whatever needs to be done to get the project done.
You are also, it's important to note that Scott is a McKinley Middle Magnet graduate, correct?
That's right.
I think we were there at the same time, although I was a wallflower and not a cool kid. So you probably, and I had a little bit more hair then. So welcome to the show, Scott. Talk to me about what's going on in your world right now, man. What great things you got going on?
Well, 2020 was actually a very busy year, surprisingly. We did 3 projects in 2020. One was a feature film that is set to debut hopefully this month. It's kind of a touch and go situation, but the name of that film is Trigger Girl, and it's a mystery, a whodunit. Also, we did a project for the 100 Black Men, which was a series of 15 short films, but it's actually a continuous narrative, so it shows as a feature film as well. That one's called Respect for Life. It premiered at the Manship Theater. And then right towards the end of the year, we shot what's called a pitch trailer to give the concept or give an idea, a visual idea of a film we're hoping to make this year that's called Black Acres. It's a mystery thriller. So even though with everything going on, we were still very busy, and we kind of found the secret sauce to making movies during a pandemic.
So I want to talk about Respect for Life. We talked about that
Sure.
last week with Trey. If you didn't make the Manship premiere, when will that be available for people to watch?
Well, the organization is the 100 Black Men who they own the project. They are making decisions on how they want to distribute it. So the best thing to do would be to keep up with that organization, and they should be able to update us on their plans for how they plan to show it to the mass audiences.
So Trigger Girl, that was done here?
Yep, shot in Baton Rouge.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've got to ask, what's it like being a local filmmaker in Baton Rouge making films?
It is one of the best things in the world. People don't realize that Baton Rouge, first of all, it's a very cinematic place. And I don't want to say that people don't realize it, but there's a lot of places to shoot here. Also, there's an enormous amount of talent here in Baton Rouge, and that's we're talking about business savvy on down to crew positions on down to talent. There's so many people around here who can make great films happen. So shooting here is actually it's one of the best things in the world. And I've been to a few different places to shoot, but there's no place like home. The community is so accommodating here in Baton Rouge. There's so many different folks that support us in all areas. So there's really nothing like it, man. And it's exciting to see projects originate here in Baton Rouge, not come from somewhere else and, bring other people in from other places, shoot here and leave, with projects that originate here, with people who live here, with people who derive their livelihoods from the film industry who are here. It's just exciting to see it happen.
So what does 2021 look like for you and Sulliscope?
Well, 2021 is going to be a very interesting year. One of the things that's happening is we're actually, you talk about launches, but Sulliscope Films will continue to exist, but I'm also partnering with a few other folks, and we're starting Infiniscope Motion Pictures, which is going to take things to a broader scope. We have, of course, films that we plan to make this year, but also we have a lot of stuff that's in development, a lot of different film slates that we plan to find ways to make these films, to employ local talent and crew to make these films. And we really want to originate and shoot everything right here in Louisiana. So 2021 is going to be a really exciting year for us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if I want to get more information on Sulliscope Films, where would I go?
You can go to the website, sulliscope.com. You can look us up on Facebook. There's a few of our films that are on Amazon right now. But just if you keep up with the website, Facebook pages, you can look me up. Everything that's coming up, you'll certainly be able to keep up with it.
So one of the wonders of doing this format of radio, Scott, is I get people who are watching the Facebook Live episode and emailing me or texting me questions.
Sure.
And someone has texted me, ask Scott what advice he would give someone interested in getting into the film industry in Baton Rouge.
I think one of the things you can do is find people who are already doing it. Find a tribe that you can connect with, and try to learn what's going on in the business. That's the best way to do it, because film is such a it's a team effort. So to get linked up with some like-minded people is probably the best thing you can do right now to try to figure out where you want to go with your film career. So
how did you end up getting into film from the days back in McKinley Middle Magnet?
I think about that every night. It was always a passion of mine. It was one of those things where I decided that it was either I do it or it becomes a regret. So I decided to just jump in, and around 2016, I started writing scripts and decided that I didn't just want to write scripts. I wanted to make the movies as well, and I wanted to help other people get on the journey of making movies. So that's kind of when it all jump started, and it kind of kept ballooning from there. We started off with short films, and before you know it, we were shooting feature-length films, and hopefully it continues to grow from there.
Well, very exciting. Check out and look, I'll be watching to see when Trigger Girl gets released.
Yes.
As well as when Respect for Life gets released. I'll make sure I share that on the Geaux Rouge social media and website. Scott Sullivan, man, one more time, what's that website if people want to get in touch with you?
They can go to sulliscope.com, or you can shoot us an email, connect@sulliscope.com. That's a good way to get in touch as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, Scott. Don't go anywhere because we may come back to you. So our last guest for this episode of the Geaux Rouge Show is a great guy, Chris Cummings from Pass It Down. I met Chris. I occasionally get to MC stuff, not so much anymore, but occasionally I get to MC stuff. And one of the things I get to MC occasionally is the Baton Rouge Entrepreneur Week's Big Pitch Night, which is interesting to me because, like commercial real estate, I don't know a lot about pitching, and I don't know a lot about emceeing, but folks somehow, some way think that I'm okay at it. So I emceed it, last year, Chris? And Chris was competing, and not just competing, dominating. So fast forward, by the way, Chris is an attorney. Fast forward, Chris, you just got named one of the people to watch in 225. You're kind of a big deal right now. So welcome to the show, Chris.
Appreciate it, Franz. No, it's funny how we didn't meet sooner, considering how many mutual friends we have from the days of federal criminal law. It's not a huge community.
So one of my good friends is a mutual colleague of ours, Dustin, who is one of my go-to resources for federal criminal defense, which I do a good deal of. So yeah, we are in the same circle, but never realized it. So Chris, tell us about Pass It Down. What is that?
Yeah, so Pass It Down is a digital storytelling platform that everyone from cities to cultural organizations to some of the world's largest brands license to be able to build online and interactive storytelling experiences. In today's digital world, the problem is that every single person, every single visitor is addicted to their phone and staring at their phone. And so there's a fight for attention that exists for anyone that has to do marketing. And so our goal is to be able to help our clients to be able to get people to look up and actually pay attention again. And we're really lucky. I get to work with everyone from the city of Portland, Oregon, that uses our platform to showcase every piece of public art in the entire city, so that any people or tourist has the ability to explore the city's art and resources. To a couple of cities we'll be doing centennials or bicentennials for next year, to Porsche Cars in North America and their Experience Center in Atlanta, which also, fun fact, is Avengers headquarters. And so they were launching a new floor at the Experience Center and wanted a way to be able to activate the stories and the history of the brand. They also have a racetrack attached to the building, and it's just remarkably cool.
So I've got to ask, you are an attorney. How in the world did you get involved with this entrepreneurial concept? Because candidly, it has nothing to do with federal criminal defense, which, by the way, I hear good things about your abilities at that. How did you get involved in this?
Yeah, it makes sense when you look back to what Pass It Down originally was developed for. And like so many companies, we pivoted along the way, but if you look at the original vision, it makes sense. I originally started Pass It Down to help families record and pass down their memories. And the idea was to create a digital biographer tool. And the reason I was passionate about that is that my mom, unfortunately, was very sick when I was young. She had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when she was 23. I started giving my mom shots when I was 7 or 8. She unfortunately developed early onset dementia in her 40s. And so I went through the experience of, helping my mom navigate Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, hospice, assisted living. And I tried to get my mom qualified, even though she was fully disabled, fully qualified, and she was turned down 3 times in a row. Old lady at the Medicare office told me, "Baby, you're going to have to hire an attorney. We turn down everyone. Don't tell anyone that." And when I was 18, I had to hire an attorney to get my mom care. And I remember at that time saying, I never wanted to have that feeling of helplessness again. And so that's part of the reason I went to law school, is because I had to go get an attorney to help me get my mom the care she needed. But through the experience of seeing my mom battle, MS and early onset dementia, I remember wanting to record and know more about my mom's life and stories. But when I was 18, I couldn't afford a biographer. It was like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And, the Taco Bell menu and McDonald's Happy Meal, or the dollar menu, was basically what I was living on. So it was one of those things where I always had this idea that families needed a way to better document their stories. Facebook doesn't really capture the essence of a person's life. It's more of a snapshot, but it doesn't let you go back to hear your mom or your grandma talk about where they grew up or any of those things. And so I just had this feeling that I needed to step away to do this. And if I didn't, I would regret it. And look, there are a lot of lawyers who don't like practicing law. You and I both know that. Or there are a lot of lawyers who work for law firms where they don't like their lives very much, and it's a grind. I actually loved the type of law that I did, and I loved it incredibly. And I'll go back to it someday, and I look forward to it. I'm nerdy that I still listen to Supreme Court arguments in my car every week because I enjoy that. But
so there are moments in my life, maybe even after I get done with the radio show today and I'm driving to Clinton, Louisiana, where I'm like, how did I get here? Like, what was the trajectory that landed me into this? And I get it, so as a fellow storyteller, talk a little bit, because I know how this works, right? But I want the audience to really understand. If I go to your platform, say for one of your cities that you work with, what am I going to experience?
Yeah, so I'll put it through the lens of what typically happens and what we're replacing. If an organization, for example, like the Baton Rouge Zoo, wanted to be able to create a touchscreen exhibitor experience, typically what any of these organizations have to do is they go to an agency, and that agency is going to charge them an astronomical number, and they're going to go build something from scratch. And that makes absolutely no sense. It's people recreating the wheel over and over and over. So we essentially have built a Squarespace or a Wix model, but for digital storytelling and touchscreen experiences. So our clients choose a template from our library. For example, it could be a timeline. They drag and drop their content in, and then they can launch an experience that'll scale on any phone, tablet, computer, or touchscreen, and they can do it in minutes. And they can do it for a fraction of the cost of what an agency would charge to be able to custom build this experience. And guess what? Our experience is also going to be better. There's a reason why we're lucky enough to be working with some of the world's largest organizations across 3 continents already. And it's just because we focused on building quality and giving our clients control to be able to build these experiences themselves. If you want to update your experience, you can update it with a push of a button. So, I mean, it's very niche, but I mean, it makes sense to anyone that's doing marketing, experiential marketing, or trying to focus on visitor engagement.
So I am not tech savvy.
Sure.
And included in that tech savvy comment is I am not a graphic designer or a web developer. And when I had my website developed for Geaux Rouge, I was asked by the designers, what is your criteria? And I said, my criteria is I want someone like me who doesn't know what he's doing to be able to go in and make posts, make changes, to drag and click and all this stuff. And they're like, yeah, we can do that. So I like the idea that this is something that the company, the business, the city, the municipality can do themselves. And you're not reinventing the wheel all the time, and it's cost effective.
Correct.
So,
and because it's a platform, every new client makes the platform technology better, right? Every feature we develop is deployed to every new client. And so it allows you to grow a company and scale a solution because that would drive me crazy, right? If every day I was building something unique that I started over from, every day I wake up, what we built yesterday has gotten better. And that's a fantastic thing for both our company and for our clients.
So one of our audience members, Emelie Alton from Bistro, Byronz, asks, has there been any thought of using this technology to help nonprofits with virtual events since so many can't host their fundraisers?
Absolutely. No, it's a great question. Yes, we actually work with a number of nonprofits from around the country. We're working with the largest cancer survivor park in the country right now, where we're building a digital platform to not only showcase stories of cancer survivors, but also to allow anyone in the world facing cancer to share their own story. And then they're using that in their events to be able to drive community engagement and fundraising on the nonprofit side. And it's one of several really incredible nonprofits that we work with. Because I think everyone's in the same boat. How do we, in a digital world, in a COVID world, how do we create engagement? And, for so many nonprofits, and it's the same for cultural organizations, a very large sum, like a dangerously large sum of your funding for the entire year comes from galas and events. And if you can't hold that one big in-person gala or event, your organization's entire existence is at risk. And so the ability to find a way to be able to try to create an experience online to be able to still maintain those relationships is more important now than ever.
So we've been talking to Chris Cummings from Pass It Down, Scott Sullivan from Sulliscope, local storytellers doing some very, very cool things. I tell people, guys, all the time that I'm a storyteller, and they're like, no, you're a criminal defense attorney. I'm like, no, I'm a storyteller. I tell stories for a living. I take the stories of people and events and I frame them. I don't use a camera, although sometimes I use a camera. And I try to frame them in a way that benefits my client, benefits my theory and themes. So I love storytellers. We got about a minute left. That's about it for this episode of the Geaux Rouge Show. For more information about our guests, you can definitely check them out on social media. I try to put little bio information on them on Facebook. You can go to www.geauxrouge.com to watch another airing of this episode, or you can go to YouTube, which I will upload later today. We have a YouTube channel, guys. We're on YouTube, the Geaux Rouge YouTube channel. Scott, stay away from it. The production the quality is I'm embarrassed. It's these videos. It's these videos. So thank you to all the guys that have come in today. That's about it for episode 1 of season 2. Thank you to Brian Haldane from Talk 107.3 for producing. And again, if you want more information about the Geaux Rouge Show, go to www.geauxrouge.com. And more importantly, if you have someone in Baton Rouge that we need to keep an eye on, let's say you're not 225 Magazine and you can't do the people to watch, but you want to have them on this radio show, just email me at info@geauxrouge.com, info@geauxrouge.com. It is as simple as Trey Godfrey telling me you need to have Scott on the radio show, or Amy Dyden saying you need to have Hoopla on it. That's how easy it is. So that's it. Franz Borkart telling you guys to have a great week, and we will catch you guys next time.
Thanks, Franz.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to clear.